Nigeria's foreign exchange market is once again in focus as the Central Bank of Nigeria reopens the official Forex window to over 80 licensed bureau de change operators. Each DBC can now access up to $150,000 weekly, a significant increase from the previous $40,000 allocation. The move is aimed at boosting dollar liquidity, narrowing the over 19 naira gap between the official and parallel market rate and restoring confidence in the market. But will this policy truly stabilize the naira, and can increased supply alone solve structural forex challenges? We are joined virtually by financial analyst Ayodeji from Lagos to speak on the foreign exchange market. Hello, Mr. Ebo. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's great to be here.
Let's start with your assessment of the CBN's decision to increase weekly dollar allocation to BDCs. Do you expect this move to immediately reduce the gap between the official and parallel market rates?
Okay, thanks. So I think that we should see some moderation, but it's not the silver bullet. But I also like the way how the CBN also reacts when they begin to see. They don't wait until things have degenerated before also reacting. So they've seen that the spread can begin to create speculation, can begin to create round tripping. So now supplying into this market will also help reduce that gap. I think it will, because the demand in the unofficial market would at least be met with more FX, which means that if there's more FX in that system, but they have to monitor and ensure that it's drastic. If not, even the BDCs will take advantage of this premium, because it's like you're buying FX at a discount, and you have a market where you can sell high. They'll find all means to find a way that they can also round trip that. So, which is also going to be more difficult for the CBN to track across. So there's a need to ensure that, to monitor the effectiveness. If it's not yielding the desired results, move to the next step to ensure, because there's a need to maintain that narrow gap to prevent speculation and round tripping.
Is flooding the market with more dollars enough to stabilize the naira, or deeper structural reforms needed?
It's both. So firstly, what the CBN has done is reacting to this gap. But there's that long-term solution, which is not just the CBN, is about us getting enough FX. So, which are the fiscal authorities? We need to, how do we want to diversify our FX base? We know that mostly we get from oil. So the non-oil sector, how can we begin to benefit from FX earnings from exports? How can we increase that significantly? The agri sector, the manufacturing sector, how can we begin to increase that significantly? Because once we have more FX, the issue of even rationing supplying, we've seen it in the past that in supply was given to the market that CBN had to be mopping up. That's a long time ago, right? But it always boils down to demand and supply. But what we're also seeing now is that we're seeing also significant conversion. A lot of investors that have kept more dollars in their DOM account, they are also converting to naira, given the appreciation we are seeing, because the more the appreciation, the more they are losing value in naira terms. So that also really help. But the policy is, I would say, that would help, but not the silver bullet that will solve it and overnight us seeing a convergence between the parallel markets and the official markets.
All right, the gap between official and black market rates is currently over 90 naira. How do you think this move will help narrow this gap?
I think what we should begin to see, so it's going to be baby steps, that maybe we see between come to like 70, there will still be a gap, but it must not be attractive enough for people to begin to run trade. Yeah, so but we would see, the what we saw in the official market was like a sudden appreciation. It happened within 1 week, that gap just increased. And we think that market things will normalize. So either we see a bit of movement or depreciation within the unofficial market, within the official market rather, while we also see appreciation and that convergence. So looking at maybe 2030 naira, maybe within the next few weeks, and that would at least reduce people from speculating.
Yeah, I was about coming to that. Some analysts actually believe this move could lead to increased forex liquidity and reduced speculation. What's your take on this?
No, I align because once there's liquidity, what we have seen. I recall a few months ago, I buy dollar in the black market to fund my dollar card. But these days, there are a lot of dollar cards that you can use Naira to pay online for your dollar subscriptions and the likes. That's a demand shift. I don't need to patronize the black market. So what part of what the CBN will also need to look at is what is causing that demand? Can it be moved to the official market? And once that is possible, apart from maybe some of the goods that are banned not on the list and some of the items, then we should be able to access it because there's enough dollars in the official market. And we need to see how we begin to have a demand shift from the unofficial market to the official market. So I think that increase in liquidity, it's a market of demand and supply. There's no way when there's increase in the supply that the demand is not into perpetuity. It will get to a level that even those that are buying the dollars. I know part of what the concern most people will also have is as we approach election, demand is always very high within that period. And I believe this is not going to be a shock to the CBN. They should also be able to prepare to weather the storm within that period as we approach election and pending when we're out of election.
All right, how do you see this policy affecting inflation, especially for imported goods?
So when we see an appreciation of the Naira, then it would reduce imported inflation. We're import dependent in Nigeria, and I think it's really going to be positive. One thing we need to note is that prices are sticky downwards in Nigeria. So we shouldn't expect significant um, reduction in prices. But what we would see is that uh, we will not see an increase in prices of those goods. So most producers may just maintain current prices. They hardly, except there's stiff competition, bring down prices. That's the structure of the country. So, but it will help inflation because when you look at it on a month-on-month basis, if there's no increase, if they are keeping it at that level, then that will also help. But over time, if it sustains that, then competition will set in. You would see that some firm trying in a bid to take up market share will cut prices, and as a result, you see that price war ultimately benefits the populace.
So what other signals should the CBN send in order to strengthen credibility?
Okay, I think first of all, they should continue to ensure that the data, the transparency they are providing, we on time. That is important. Secondly, we should also uh, continue to see that once there's any major shock, that the market adjusts to it because there's no way rates should stay at a level. Looking at what normally happens in the past is waiting for a long time and we have to pay for that delay. So that adjustment needs to be made. The confidence should be sustained. For foreign investors now going to almost 2 years, enjoying the stability. Businesses, the ability to project is also very key. So what I expect that CBN should also sustain that. They should also see where they can collaborate with the fiscal authorities on the non-oil sector. How can we increase FX earnings to that space by maybe subsidizing production? So this is not consumption. Well, as they do that, they create more jobs. But given the peculiarity of Nigeria, we need to see the best way to set that up so that we are not just throwing money at the problem or just throwing monies that we will not get back or get any major or any positive impact.
So what's your short to medium term outlook for the Naira?
So I think that we may still see a bit of appreciation at the official market, given the continued reduction in the demand for imported products, petroleum products, with thanks to Dangote refinery. So that would have an impact. Also, the CBN has effectively been able to reduce speculative demand to a significant level. And so that should help to for appreciation. So my projection is a plus or minus 5%. So which means that for those that are investing in dollars, some of them may need to convert some of their dollars to Naira to enjoy higher rates, which will also be positive. But at the black market, I expect that the spread this should at least converge to maybe between 60 to 50 to 60 Naira. That will be a fair level, and that may not be too sufficient for any major speculation.
All right, Mr. Ayodeji Ebo, it's always a pleasure having you on the program.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.